welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, investigations by a Norwegian newspaper into the procurement of Sputnik V vaccines in Ghana has revealed irregularities leading the country to buy the doses at nearly double the approved price of $10. The story alleges that two middlemen, one a sheikh and a cousin of the ruler of Dubai, the other has been on the run from Norway for years on money laundering charges. We'll hear from the Citizens Movement Against Corruption on this, as well as the Health Ministry. Right now, though, there is Marcus Tobersin, who led the investigations by the VG newspaper. Marcus joins us right now via Zoom. Hello, Marcus. Hello, Marcus.
Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Hi, Marcus. Thank you very much for your time. Give us some insight into the investigation.
So our investigation mainly deals with how the Russian Sputnik vaccine has been sold through intermediaries in the United Arab Emirates to a number of countries, amongst other Ghana.
And what are some of the findings, apart from what you have in the newspaper? What it indicates, your findings in the newspaper show that these middlemen are selling the vaccines at almost double the price of $19 rather than $10. What else does it uncover as far as this process of the vaccine leaving Russia and making its way towards Ghana?
Well, we don't know the exact details of all the deals that have been made along the way, but what we see is that the Russians are selling vaccines through their monetary fund, the RDIF, the Russian Direct Investment Fund. And they have made deals with a company called Gulf in the United Arab Emirates. That company, again, has made the Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum an exclusive sales agent for a number of countries, amongst other Ghana. So that's what we can say about the route. And as you correctly said, the Russians are selling vaccines at about $10 per dose. We see that from public deals that have been made, where the contracts have been made public in the likes of Slovakia and Hungary. And on the deals we've seen that have gone through Gulf and the Emirates, we see that the deals are made at prices of $19, $20, and $22.50 per dose.
In your investigation, did you reach out to Ghanaian authorities, and what information did they give you, if you did?
Yes, we've been speaking to a number of officials in Ghana. I was also on a 4-day trip to Ghana. And I think it is the finance minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. He put it very.
Ken Ofori-Atta is the finance minister.
The finance minister, yes.
The health minister. So you spoke with the finance minister.
Yes, we were not able to get an interview with the health minister, but we were able to get an interview with the finance minister. Yes, that's correct. And Ken Ofori-Atta, he explained in terms of when he was asked about the pricing and asked whether or not he considered it a reasonable deal, he basically, or I'll quote verbatim what he said. He said, "I don't know. You know, you are confronted with the good guys from the West not giving you any assurance of supply, and you have 30 million people of which you have to save the lives. You know, it's easy to sit somewhere and say, why are you doing this? But you need to make sure you protect your people and you manage as well as you can." And he went on to say that basically this is all a contrived and manufactured crisis to get the supply, because clearly there is enough to go around if there was an equity and a justice in what we were doing. That was the end of his quote.
And apart from him, which other investigations did you do in Ghana to back the role of this intermediary, if you found that necessary?
Yeah, so I think one of the important things was just to establish the meeting that happened there on the 3rd of March, when the first shipment of some 16,000 doses were brought up. So that was mentioned in press briefings by the Information Ministry in Ghana, but we were able to secure pictures from the event itself that shows both the Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum there at the airport, but also, as you might have mentioned earlier on, Umar Farouk Sahor, which is wanted for charges of fraud here in Norway.
But then go ahead.
No, if you were asking about other sources, we of course spoke with Dr. Kwame Ponzagiano, who heads the inoculation program of Ghana, and a number of other NGOs, reporters, and other people who were able to help us with collecting information to confirm the reality of the deal.
And did you, by the way, get any information from this intermediary? Did they get the chance to respond to some of these
Yes.
concerns?
The Sheikh himself has not replied, but we did an interview with Umar Farokh Sahor. I could read one of his quotes if you would like to hear what he had to say about it.
Yes, go ahead.
He said that he personally had not made any profit from this, and he said, if I've made money from it, then I've made money from a good deal. There's nothing wrong with that. And he said, we are subject to non-disclosure agreement with the authorities when we buy and sell. So we have no interest in discussing details regarding what types of agreement and what types of prices and what types of expenses are involved. So he would not divulge any details, though acknowledging the deal. But he did also later on the conversation go on to say that he has not personally made, like Umar Farokh Sahor, he says he had not personally made any profit from this deal, and that he was not personally signed on the deal like he did back when the Ameri energy deal was made back in 2015. I'm not sure if you refer to that in the program here, but of course the Sheikh and Umar Farokh has previously made news in Ghana.
So yes, your report in the newspaper shows that this same individual, was also involved in the Ameri transaction.
That is correct.
And apart from him, there's another person who your report says is wanted by authorities in Norway. Give us a bit more information on this person.
Well, I would correct you there in saying that he is charged, but he is out on bail, so he is not wanted in that sense. But that is the businessman Per Morten Hansen. That's correct. And I would also clarify there that, as we write in our newspaper, there is an audio recording in which he assigns a role to himself. A recording that was made previously to the deal being made public. Per Morten Hansen, the businessman, has later first denied ever saying such a thing. And when he was confronted with the audio tape, he has later stated that he has no involvement in vaccine sales anywhere in the world. So he is disavowing his previous statements.
Hang on for me, Marcus, if you may, if you do have the time. I just want to engage Kofi too. He's a representative of the anti-graft agency here in Ghana, the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Kofi, thank you very much for your time. I've just been engaging the Norwegian journalist who worked on this report. That's indicating that Ghana has bought the COVID-19 vaccines from Russia at an overpriced, cost. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to bring our thoughts on this subject matter. And originally, we would want to take it from the point of view of the sales price from the producers. If you trace on the production line, the producers in Moscow to give a cap of $10 for this vaccine. But how is the availability in the market? And that is what is bringing about all these challenges, because first, most countries are going through a means of COVAX to help them get this vaccine. And the various sub-regional bodies such as AU and EU were also much involved. The third means of having access to these vaccines were through individuals and also other business entities, as we are finding here. And that is the easiest way to really have a kind of negative or bad deal against various countries, because you will get to know that in the case of Ghana, we are buying it at double of the original price, which is against these developing countries that are already struggling. And unfortunately, it has been the case around the world. Some countries that are well-to-do are buying multiple of the needed vaccines. So it has created shortage for most developing countries not to be able to have access. Then the second aspect that we would want to look at this from as well is from the fact that as a country, this is an international agreement. But then it's interesting to note that Parliament is not even has not discussed it and is not aware. If for nothing at all, the Select Committee should have a preview to some of these dealings. But then, unfortunately, they also do not have access to this.
Do we know that? Do we know that for sure?
Yes, because the ranking member, I was privy to one interview granted by the ranking member, and then he stated this.
Okay.
Then another aspect as well, the Coalition of Health Organizations. If you listen to some of their interactions recently, they are normally brought on board when some of these vaccines are being procured. Even other issues of procurement of malaria vaccines and even vaccines for HIV and all those diseases, we are able to engage them to also bring their ideas on board in order to help us procure at a reasonable prices across the world. But in this case, we are not being engaged. We understand that these are critical times, but then in as much as we are in critical times, we should also know that these countries already are cash-strapped as a result of many of the interventions that we have done. So it is good that we do due diligence on businesses that are being engaged. Because, mind you, if you look critically at the individuals that are being engaged now, these are people that are already in the news in most of these countries, especially Norway and the European countries that are known to have questionable issues. So at least from the angle of the Ministry of Health, we believe that it was something that at first-hand, they could have some of this information or profile some of these people to have some of these simple information that they don't engage such individuals in dealings of this nature.
The Norwegian reporter that I'm just speaking to, who did the investigation, has indicated that the response he got from this middleman indicates that the guy said he's doing business. So yes, the vaccine there's a shortage of the vaccine. It's scarce. But if you find it and you're doing business with it, is there anything wrong with that?
No, for business, a businessman will always go for the highest profit in this case. But then what even raised eyebrow from the beginning, if you listen to him clearly, you would realize that they were not trying to open up even to questioning if really you have nothing to hide in this business that you are engaging in with another person, and you are being questioned on it. If everything is transparent, you should be willing to come forward and to be straightforward with your answers. But this is a case that you are not being. And we are saying that, well, already as a country, developing country, we are already faced with issues of finances, and we are cash-strapped in these challenging times as a result of some expenses that we've incurred as a country during the deeper times of or the severest times of the COVID. Right. So if we would have to buy these vaccines double of the price, and we should be highly concerned because it's the money of the country that is going to be doled out in order to make these payments.
Okay. And just hang on. Marcus, let me wrap up with you. First of all, I just wanted to find out, in this investigation, what is the Norwegian interest? Is there any at all? What necessitated this investigation in the first place? I think you're muted. Okay, I hear you now.
Yeah, did you mean to ask why we found an interest in this story?
Yeah, what necessitated the investigation?
Yeah, sorry, when you say necessitated, you mean what started the investigation?
Yes.
Yes. So the basis of it is that we've been following this, or my colleague, Rolf, who also wrote the story, he's been following Omar Farrokh Sahor for a number of years, back to 2010 when this fraud case in the bank in Norway happened, where he was, which is he's still wanted for. So we were basically alerted to, there was an article in Ghana from an anonymous writer saying that Omar Farrokh Sahor was again involved in a vaccine deal in Ghana. And so we weren't able to find any. We couldn't base our reporting on that article because it was based on an anonymous writer. But that's what started it for us, basically trying to verify some of the claims that were put forward there.
Okay. As a reporter, are you were you satisfied, or to what extent were you satisfied with the responses that you got from the people involved, especially from Ghanaian authorities?
I would say that I think the finance ministry gave us some clear answers and also were very open in explaining their rationale. But we still have a lot of unanswered questions. It was mentioned just now, as you said, there are some questions about whether or not this was an international deal and should have gone through Parliament. We don't know whether or not it actually happened through a local subsidiary in the end of the chain, which might have made it possible to go around those rules. But it is correct, like the man before me said, that the Health Committee has confirmed to us that this did not go through Parliament. So I imagine we will keep reporting on this and that we still have a lot of questions we would like answered related to the deal.
Okay, that's interesting, because that was what my next question was going to be, whether or not this is the end of the road for the story. But you've indicated that you keep pushing it now that you're hearing that even the Parliamentary Committee on Health is not aware about this transaction, as Kofi says. But then going forward, what are your personal expectations finally on how, authorities in which of the countries that you've mentioned take this matter? What do you expect to see?
Well, I think there are, at least for Ghana's case, there are two very interesting questions. One is, when will these Sputnik vaccines arrive? Because from what we've been hearing, and I had an update that lasted just last week, that there are still the 300,000 doses that have been paid for have not been received. At least that was the last information I've been getting. Even though the president made a speech on the 1st of May saying that Ghana was expecting these vaccines by the 15th of May. So there is some delay that still hasn't been explained. I also spoke with the special advisor to the president on health, NCR Sara, while I was in Ghana, and he then explained that they were expecting them a week later, between the 15th and what would be the 21st. But they don't seem to have arrived at that point either. So that's one question. The other one is, sorry, I lost my thread, related to, there was a decline in how many vaccines are actually ordered. So when the deal was announced in early April, the health ministry said that they would order more than 3 million doses, while the finance ministry now says that they have paid for 300 doses and have an option on another million. But that's a sizable reduction from what was first announced. Why this is, we don't know yet. So that's one of the other questions we are looking for answers to.
That's a lot of information to work with and a lot of work to do as well. Marcus, thank you so much for your time. Let me take your final thoughts, Kofi, before we call this a wrap finally. What are your own expectations? The reporter or the investigator, the reporter who investigated the matter has listed a few what he called unanswered questions that ought to be pursued. For you as a Ghanaian, Kofi, and working with an anti-graft agency, what are your expectations going forward with this story?
Yes, so what I would say is we appreciate the fact that, the government is committed to vaccinating about 20 million Ghanaians by October. But then normally in this kind of desperate attempts, these are the business deals that normally have questionable issues. So we will urge first the select committee to have a keen interest in this kind of engagement, international engagement and business transactions. And two, state organizations such as IOCO and the Special Prosecutor's Office as well should have keen interest in issues of this nature to make sure that we have a clean deal as a country. And other interested CSOs, media houses, we believe as well can also contribute to make sure that we don't become like the other developing countries that are being shortchanged in in this challenge of getting access to the vaccine. Yes.
Kofi, thank you so much. Marcus, thank you as well. Let me just say, though, that the Health Ministry says it is looking into the matter and will respond to the allegations later.